Greetings and welcome back to Doctor Who Revisited, where I go through every single episode of Doctor Who from 1963 all the way to 2023 and review them. And now we are on the debut episode of Tom Baker as the Doctor with Robot. Okay, first things first, elephant in the room, Tom Baker's debut as the Doctor. This episode picks up right from where the previous one left off, in the same exact scene, which is clearly the same exact footage and not a reshoot. But yeah, so John Pertwee's out, Tom Baker's in, and first time that the Brigadier's actually witnessed it. Now maybe he's finally going to believe that all these different Doctors are actually the same guy, and now he finally understands how it looks like and how it works. And you know what? This is the second time we actually get to see people who knew the Doctor see him after regeneration, rather as the regeneration is happening. And you know what? It's taking a lot better than the previous one, which was all the way back at the end of the 10th planet, transitioning into the power of the Daleks, of course, with Ben and Polly. In that moment, I mean, even the audience was not prepared for that. So take that for what it is. But Sarah Jane Smith, having already witnessed Campo regenerating into Choji, or just, Campo regenerating in general, she's prepared for it. She knows that this is a thing, that this is what Time Lords do, and so she's not overly shocked by it like some other companions do from time to time. And the Brigadier's already seen several different versions of the Doctor already, so he knows. I mean, he had it in his mind that it might be the same person, but turns out it is the same person, and now he knows how it works. So I like that we got all that set up, so that by this point, even the audience, as well as the companions and friends themselves, are already prepared for this moment. So I like that. And then, of course, it leads. This is actually the first time that we can kind of see the Doctor getting a bit disorientated after regeneration. And if you actually pay attention, it kind of gets worse with each subsequent regeneration. Like, seriously, it's a thing. But yeah, so first Doctor regenerates, second Doctor gets up, more or less, unaffected by it. Then the third Doctor collapses out of the TARDIS, and then having a few memory issues, going a bit, wacky for a little bit. This time, the fourth Doctor kind of really takes his time settling into his new body, but he still recovers a lot faster than most of the other Doctors that came after him. But of course, this leads us to the introduction of Harry Sullivan. Oh boy. Okay, first of all, Ian Marter, great guy from what I've been hearing. His contributions to Doctor Who are many and extend far beyond this one character. I mean, we've already seen him once or twice, I think once, on the show already. But him as Harry Sullivan, how can I put this? Not a fan. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. He's a buffoon, and causes more trouble than he's worth. He's he's an idiot. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he's more often than not, he does more harm than good, and we're gonna see that as we traverse this journey along with this season. By the way, I think this season is great. It's a stellar season. Might be my favorite of all Doctor Who seasons, or definitely up there. But well, it's got Harry in it. But that is beside the point, because for the most part, well, Harry himself is the butt of the joke for a lot of the time. Most of the time, the person telling the joke is the Doctor, and I love that. And I kind of as much as I love, absolutely adore the Doctor and Sarah Jane chemistry. I think Elizabeth Sladen is one of those companions that just had awesome chemistry with any Doctor she met, be it John Pertwee, Tom Baker, David Tennant, or Matt Smith. She was just amazing for some reason, it's that Tom Baker, Ian Marter chemistry that just, it's comedy gold. Like, you can kind of tell at times the Doctor doesn't like Harry all that much, but he's still keeping him around. And he does have his uses occasionally, but I mean, just the Fourth Doctor, Harry Sullivan dynamic brought so many good laughs. And yeah, well, he may not have been the best companion, but at least he led to some of the funniest moments of the show. And then, of course, we reach the point of this episode, the reason why it's named Robot, because guess what? Spoilers, there's a robot in this episode. I think the novelization of this episode is titled Doctor Who and the Giant Robot. More on that later. But yeah, so the K1 robot. You know what? It looks ridiculous. It is goofy. It is cheesy. And it's Doctor Who at its finest. What can I tell you? I for some reason, I love the robot design. I mean, it's very much a Doctor Who thing. With the cheap looking effect and cute voice, I would say, the asymmetrical arms, and just it's a menacing robot that kills people, and he's trying to build a disintegrator ray gun that disintegrates people, but he's got a conscience, he's got a heart. Even though he's a robot, he's got a moral code that he doesn't want to break. And we see what happens when he accidentally kills his own creator and how that affects him. That's how you make a great Doctor Who villain. Is like, you don't just make him pure evil. You gotta have a nuance to it, an extra dimension to it. And I think they nailed it with this K1 robot. And I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's not one of my favorite robots of all time, but it's definitely a fan favorite. It's definitely a beloved creation from Doctor Who. And first of all, the idea of living metal, first of all, what is that, and why is that a thing? And more importantly, why is it not used more often on the show? Because the idea of a robot that can learn and grow like a human being, that could have been an interesting thing. Probably would have worked if he looked a little bit more humanoid or human-ish. But the idea itself is very interesting, and I suppose that's why the disintegrator gun, rather than disintegrate him, it just made him bigger because of the different type of metal, which was only ever invented by this one crazy hair-looking dude who got disintegrated, and no one ever picked up his research or whatever. So yeah, that's a bit of a missed opportunity for the world. But speaking of missed opportunities for the world, the villains in this episode, and I'm not saying that, and this sigh is not because they're bad villains necessarily. I think they're adequate. They're very good villains. It's just they're fascists. What can I say? I automatically don't like them, and their whole villain plan is to steal nuclear codes and blackmail the world to force them to make them the leaders of humanity. Okay, whoopsie. So that's very clearly a fascist thing to do. And I mean, what else can I say? I mean, just look at their uniforms, for crying out loud. Doesn't that remind you of something? I always say that when you're running out of ideas for villains in a movie or a TV show, you can never go wrong with Nazis. And this is basically what they did. And they put another twist on it, a different flavor of it, if you will. Even changed the color of their uniforms and changed their modus operandi, if you will. But at the end of the day, at the heart of it, they're basically modern day Nazis. And I think that's really a good idea, a very good twist on this idea, and it's one of the main reasons why this what that makes this episode as good as it is. Of course, the main highlight, the thing that steals the show, is the robot, but the robot in and of himself doesn't carry the load, as it were, of villain duties on the show, it's actually those scientific fascist Nazis, and I think they're used to good effect. But yeah, it's and you know they're very cold and menacing, and they're a threat. There's no other way you can spin it. They are a very good threat for the Doctor, and I like them as much as you can love villainous Nazi-like fascists. I would say, but yeah, as far as some of the special effects in this episode, I mean, the very obvious use of the green screen of the robot uh, becoming a giant, hence, you know, the title, The Giant Robot, the title for the novelization, him carrying Sarah Jane around like essentially like a King Kong ripoff. Okay, very clearly where they got that inspiration from, but I mean, again, the effects, they are what they are. I mean, they were working with what they had at the time. You can't really fault them too much for that. And if you use your imagination, it actually looks good. Right? Like, I think a lot of the times in classic Doctor Who, and even some of the scenes in the modern series, you really have to excuse the way some of the effects look and just use your imagination for most of it. But overall, the fascist villains, you know, they are what they are. Great design for the robot and a very good story arc for the robot. Nice to see all the unit people back again, potentially for one of the last few times we're going to see them for a bit. But I think the main highlights of this episode is Tom Baker, who I think nails the character of the Doctor right off the gate. I mean, he just wastes no time and just he establishes himself as very firmly different from all the other Doctors that came before him, and he lets you know why he is the Doctor right off the bat. I mean, the scene of him wearing different clothes until he settles on his proper look, and just all the scenes in the lab with Harry and his interaction with the Brigadier, very clearly different from the John Pertwee and the Patrick Troughton versions of how to deal with the Brigadier. And it kind of looks like by this point the Brigadier has kind of figured it out that, oh yeah, so this is a different Doctor now, gotta approach him slightly different than the previous one. And you know what else? Sarah Jane also picks up on that very, very quickly, and just for some reason it just feels like Sarah Jane just knows the Doctor so well that even though she also has to now get used to a new Doctor, she runs with it. She takes it in stride, and she knows exactly which way to talk to him and to calm him down even better than the Brigadier, who's known him for much longer than she has. So yeah, again, this is just one of the reasons why they prove why, in my opinion, Sarah Jane Smith is in fact the best companion of all time. Fight me on this if you will, if you like. But yeah, so really good start, and it only gets better from here on out. So thank you for watching if you have. I will see you in the next one. And yeah, so until the next one, everybody, would you like a jelly baby? Hi there. Thank you for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. I'll see you next time.